And hello, all you folks out there in YouTube land. Lord of the Crockett Squirrels here with the Opal Dragon.
Hello. Yes, he still believes in dragons, so I'm here.
No, you're the one that's actually nuts about dragons there, Mr. Opal. And today's
Well,
guest and interviewee, Vance.
Hello.
So how
Should I say
y'all
more than
doing
hello?
today? How you doing today, Vance?
I think the audio's cutting out a little bit for me. I'm having a
Oh,
hard time hearing you.
are you having a hard time? Here, let me see what might be able to do something about that. It's actually
Okay, I think
do
it's fine now.
this. Well, it's I've got the mic's on a boom, so I tend to move around a little bit more than I would normally. So if it sounds like I'm fading in and out,
It's getting a little bit robotic, and
that
sometimes
would be
oh,
the bandwidth.
that would be a bandwidth thing. Give me a second. That's a thing I can fix. Usually
Go
don't
with
have
your
that problem,
hamsters.
but there we go. Sprint's hamsters may actually just be doing strange things. I've lowered the bit rate a little bit and see if that actually helps. And YouTube is throwing ski ads at you, Richard. Ha ha! Believe it or not, I'm not surprised by that in any way, shape, or form. I'm just not all that surprised by it. You who go skiing in Kanakistan every year.
Yeah, Google's tracking us.
Google tracks everybody. You
Yeah,
notice you can't go anywhere on the internet without Google's API actually being loaded at some point.
yeah. I mean,
Usually
they
pretty
keep
close to
denying
immediately.
it, but people keep proving it. You know.
Now, for those of you who need a quick recap, we've had a look at two games from Standoff Software, Unicorn Dungeon and Leprechaun Shadow. We missed the second game. I completely spaced on it at some point, but we have a copy of it now, and I'll even play it here later on on another stream because definitely want to have a look at Poltergeist Treasure. The games, if I
Yep.
remember correctly, are individually priced at what, $5?
Yeah, $4.99, $5. Yep.
$5 on Steam. Um, so if you want to go
And there's
grab it,
a bundle. You can get the whole bundle, but there's a bundle now. You can get all three of them if you get the the three together. That's 15% off, or whichever ones you don't already own, because that's how Steam bundles work.
well,
So
I
it's
don't think
fifteen
they don't
percent
all
off
work like that,
the
but
bundle.
the good ones do. That's been my opinion.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's two ways you can do bundles on Steam. Yeah. There's a different way too, but yeah.
Alrighty then. So how about a little bit of a history lesson here? What actually prompted you to do this? How did that come
Um.
about?
What
Yeah.
is this this game, making games in general?
Yeah, we can
What's
start with that.
this
Let's
Yeah.
about?
let
What
prompted you to
insane idea?
want to make video games, especially considering
Yeah.
the way things have been since about 2010.
And we got two people talking at the same time. I don't know who to
Sorry.
answer.
Yeah, Opal, shush for a
Yeah,
minute.
I was asking basically the same question as him. I was just saying, what insane idea caused you to get into this?
Now, what possessed you to start making
To get
video
into
games?
Yeah.
well, I mean, I've always made video games,
Oh
as
yeah,
long as I can remember. I
Oh.
started making video games on the Commodore 64. Um,
Ooh.
just text adventures and whatnot, and really simple things, and made a. Yeah, I've just always been making video games. I've made a wide variety of things. In the '90s, I had a somewhat successful multi-user dungeon that ran for a while and had a fair number of users on there, and also distributed a few games adventure games there. Made a poker website, and just a whole bunch of stuff. So I've just always been about making games. Made some Facebook games when that was a big thing to do. Yeah. So
Wow.
Okay, I have to ask then. Of the games you made, and it doesn't matter what generation or which one. I mean, it doesn't have to be the newest, but which did you find the funnest to make, and which one um, uh, are you the proudest of?
hmm. That's a hard question to answer because I mean everything has its own unique challenges, and its own unique funness, if if that's a way to put it. So it's hard to say which because at the time I was working on it, it was that one I was working on, right? Every single time it's going to be that whatever's the one that's is the most fun and engaging to me is the one that I'm working on. Um, so I mean, it's hard to say really, because everything is brought. I mean, the poker site was really a lot of fun to build, and still, no one to this day has ever made a totally customizable home poker simulation to the degree that I did. And one day I'm going to remake it and probably get it out on Steam or something because Flash is a little outdated at this point.
Well, yeah.
Um, um, and I mean the mud, man, that was a challenging one to make. I was an idiot when I made that one
Well,
because
I think that's more or less true of all of us at some point or another.
because there were code bases available, perfectly functional code bases to make muds. Did I use any of those? Nope, sure
Nope.
didn't. I started with a blank screen and wrote everything from scratch, all the networking code and everything.
Oh
Ooh.
wow!
Yeah, so that was
Network code. Everybody I've ever
pretty
talked to
stupid of
about
me.
network code says it's completely and thoroughly evil. Get somebody
Yeah,
else to do it if you can.
well, I mean, I didn't write on the lowest level. Obviously, I did use some APIs for the really lowest level stuff, but
Well, that would go
um,
without saying.
yeah. So, but yeah, but of course, I didn't use the existing tools at the time, as because I think that kind of brings a point that a lot of people think, well, if they talk bad about people who use things like Unity and whatnot, which is what I use for the latest games, because it's too easy to use, right? So some like elitist programmers say things like that,
Yeah,
right?
well,
But I
those
think
people.
I think really it's just dumb to not use the tools that are available to use. Right?
Well, some
I
of those
agree.
elitists seem to think that a scratch-built engine is the only way to go. It's the same thing in the modeling department too. Don't use other people. Don't use a program that will enable you to just sit and render an animation with only a modicum of effort. Instead, you have to like build every individual model. You have to build a model for every freaking pose. It's like, what the hell? What are
Yeah,
you
Yeah.
doing? And why are you doing it in such high poly setups? You know,
Yeah.
if you didn't individually model 5 million polys for a single image, then you're doing it wrong. I've run into that problem.
Yeah. So I think I maybe lost track of the question in my answer, but I think the basic point I was trying to make is I don't really know. I don't think I can say, what my favorite game was or the most um, interesting game to make was because I don't make games that aren't interesting to make
yeah.
because I just don't feel the need to do that to do it.
Well, see, that's a,
Well, I just asked which did you find the funnest to make, and which one are you the most proud of?
Oh, well, none of them are fun to make. They're not fun to make. It's a lot of damn work.
Well, yeah, that too, but
That's why I carefully tiptoed around the word fun, if you notice, when I was answering. I said interesting, but not fun.
Well, again, what you're doing. You're sitting here looking at You're sitting here looking at a screen that wants a whole bunch of code with it, and you're on it, and you're going, fine, nothing to play with for the first long while. And then when you finally get something that's playable, you find 80 million bugs in it. You left off the semicolon.
Yeah.
That's always a fun one.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I do a kind of iterative approach. So I don't do just like straight out code and then check for bugs. I'm constantly iterating through and testing while I'm writing and stuff like that. So it doesn't tend to be the case where I have written the whole game and then there's a whole bunch of bugs, because I've been constantly testing as I'm developing.
Mm-hmm. Well, honestly, that makes sense. Because I think that's pretty much what everybody should be doing, unless of course you're a AAA game publisher, in which case you can't even be bothered with QA to begin with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, back in the day when it took a day to compile, yeah, then sure, you'd have to write, at least a very significant portion, and then take a day off for the compiler to build. But now now you can. In Unity, you just press the play button and it just runs immediately, right? There's no reason not to
do that.
Basically, you're saying
Yeah.
now with the new tools, programmers have lost their sleeping time.
Yes,
They
yeah.
don't have
No more nap time for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No breaks anymore.
At least not that kind of a break. Because I know way back in the day when punch cards were a thing, it could take you a week to compile something.
Oh.
5K, you get 8K of RAM. That's all you got. And you have to put the entire Apollo guidance computer on 8K. No, I'm kidding. Actually, I think the Apollo guidance computer had a whopping 16K. I'd have to go back and look, but
Oh wow.
the Apollo guidance computer did a lot of things in almost nothing. It was apparently a model of code efficiency.
Yeah, well, it had to be back in those days. Yeah,
Well,
code efficiency is kind of a thing of the past, isn't it? Nobody cares about that anymore.
Well,
to a certain extent, but yes.
believe me, I notice when the code's not optimized, I see it every time, without fail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that there's a certain there's a certain argument against code efficiency these days too. I think that elegance and maintainability probably should take precedence over strict efficiency in a lot of cases these days, just because you don't need that level of efficiency you used to, and just having more maintainable and elegant code I think has more benefits. But
Well, I don't disagree with that to a point. I know there are some people that will make their code as obtuse as possible and then not comment, and no comments at all.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like,
right, yeah.
that's just you. That's just you trying to build in job security there, butthole.
Yeah, well, I don't put as many comments as I should, but I'm only writing code that only I will read anyway. But I should probably put in more comments. But...
All right, Tom, welcome to the stream, man. And what you say is actually correct. He did. Sidestrike did pass away just this last week. So that's no fun. All right. Sorry about that, Vance.
Back on security stuff.
Yeah. There was a question from the chat. I just needed to make sure I got that confirmed. that's a thing, but that's a topic for another day. Anyway, so where'd we go? Where? Okay. God damn it! Now I've just gotten my little brain derailed very briefly. Okay, so
Well,
let's
we gotta get back on because we got the Dave Chappelle of game designers here.
Me? I don't know
All
about
right.
all that.
So, tell me about Sir Typhil and how he and his history. How did that project come about?
Okay, well, so this project came about because I was kind of didn't have a project at the moment. That's about 2 years ago, almost exactly 2 years ago, actually, when I started this project. A little, maybe 2 years and a month ago, probably. Excuse me. So I just didn't have project at the moment. And what I was kind of thinking at the time was, all right, here's what I'm going to do. And there were a couple other people who were doing similar things at the time. Some people I knew, not big name people, who were just some other game developers who were putting out just really, really small, short games. And doing them really, really quickly. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm just going to make some really short games and put them out really quickly. See if there's anyone who enjoys them. So I said, okay, I'm going to make this game in 1 month. And so I sat down and I made the game in about 1 month. It wasn't completely finished in 1 month, but the month was over, and then it was October, so that was the month of September, and then the month of October, I said, well, okay, well, that's pretty much done. Time to work on the sequel. So then I started working on Poltergeist Treasure, right?
Mm-hmm.
1 month after I started Unicorn Dungeon, and at that point I kind of realized, okay, first of all, I should probably finish Unicorn Dungeon because it wasn't completely finished yet, but I also kind of realized, I could make this into a fairly. I had a lot of ideas at the time. It started kind of flooding. The whole story kind of flooded into my mind of where this series was going to go, and so when I went back to Unicorn Dungeon, I didn't just finish what needed to get done, but I actually expanded it. It ended up being twice as long as it originally was. Put in voice acting later on, did a whole bunch of stuff. So Unicorn Dungeon ended up taking 6 months to make instead of 1 month because of all of that. And yeah, so let's. How did the idea come about? Just I didn't. It just came. So one of my earliest memories of this was I knew before I made the game that he was going to show up in a dungeon trying to find a unicorn, because I thought that was funny, and that the first thing he was going to do upon getting to the dungeon is going to be to find the unicorn immediately.
Right.
So it's okay. So his grand quest is to find a unicorn, and then so that was like the idea for the game. That was in its entirety the idea. The idea for a game is that you set up, and as you've played Unicorn Dungeon, so there's this really kind of lengthy grand intro about he's setting off on a quest to find a unicorn, and then as soon as the game starts, like 3 minutes in, he finds the unicorn. Right. So that's like the joke that was the entire game, right? That's the entire game is built on that joke, basically. And so then I just had to make all of the ways that all of the reasons that he couldn't take the unicorn that he'd already found. So that's kind of a comedy of errors, right? There's unicorns right here, but there are all these obstacles in my way. The goal is right here, but so yeah, just kind of built like that for that game. That's
Now I have to.
So I have a
ask
silly
this, what you
question.
said.
I have a question
would-
that's...
oh,
Hey,
can I
Opal.
Okay.
I have a silly
Yeah.
question. Why rutabagas? Of all the things, rutabagas.
Because rutabaga is a funny word. That's why.
That nobody seems to like to eat them.
Yeah, so the first game, the rutabaga is a minor player. I really didn't intend for it to become such a big deal that it became in Leprechaun Shadow. It just spiraled out of control.
I can tell.
Yeah,
The leprechaun murdering people for the rutabagas in the third game. I mean, what's up with that?
Yeah, it's just a silly little thing in Unicorn Dungeon. You know, that you needed to get the rutabaga. It's like just one puzzle right out of many, and then and there's some rutabagas, a few more rutabaga references in Poltergeist Treasure than there are in Unicorn Dungeon, and then Leprechaun Shadow. It gets crazy, and it's getting crazier after that too.
Oh,
we got
dear.
3 more games to come.
Oh,
We should have called it the Rutabaga Saga. That's what I should have called this game.
I know, right? Because the rutabagas took over the freaking plot for Leprechaun Shadow.
Yeah.
Like, dude.
Yeah, didn't they? Yeah.
He's a knight, not a private deck. Wait. Oh, now he's got to try it.
Get out of here, rutabagas! I'm trying to write a damn story about a unicorn. Yeah.
I'm waiting for the last. I'm waiting for the final game when he finally gets back to the to the castle to give this unicorn to the king, and he says, "Well, where are the rutabagas?"
Oh yeah, well the last game there's definitely going to be a twist at the end, and there's a spoiler for you, but it's already well planned out. There's a little bit of a twist at the end of the final game, but it's not that.
When are we going to see that game? That's the question.
I don't know. We got 3 more to go to get there, so we're halfway there. Already halfway there.
Yeah, well, okay. What's the next game gonna? What do we even have a title for the next game?
You do, yeah. It's announced at the end of this game.
You know what? I haven't actually. I'll be honest with you. I have not finished this game, so.
No. Oh, you can also see it by clicking on the credits, but nobody ever clicks that button. You can just like send that to Rick Astley or something, and nobody would even notice the credits button. Nobody ever clicks the credits button. But it's the next one is called Alien Function.
Oh dear. Okay.
That's all the information about it that is released yet. But I have done a little bit of work on it. I'm not concentrating on working on it completely right now because I'm doing marketing for this game, trying to get people to buy it and play it. But I have done some work on that one already, and it's going to be an interesting one.
Wow. Okay, I expect there's going to be at least one alien probe joke, so.
All right. Yeah, maybe. I haven't written any of the writing for it yet.
So
get that in there for you.
Speaking of writing, on our way there, I remember a Unicorn Dungeon just laughing my butt off. The main gameplay loop is, of course, the dungeon, which reminded me very much of games like Rogue. I think they're supposed to. But just the raw level of snark and genre awareness that ran around in that game in the up at the top of the dungeon is just absolutely mind blowing. What gave you the idea for this particular attack aside from the unicorn being right freaking there?
I mean, it's just different different ideas that come. Yeah, I mean, there's not a single idea, I guess, that to say, here's where something came from. It's more just, you take this absurd scenario and just kind of milk all of the absurdness out of it. That's, I guess, what you try to do as a comedy writer. Um, I have. So I'll say kind of the process of the writing of the game.
Oh, yes, please.
So, being an adventure game, the story and the gameplay is very very close to the same thing. So when I'm doing the game design, the story kind of falls into place, like the broad plot outline, the characters, and everything like that need to be in place in order to, even make anything of the game, because all the puzzles and the people you talk to and that kind of thing are all part of the story and part of the gameplay and the puzzles. So that's like the first pass of writing is the game design, right? So I go through and I make the entire game story, all the characters. A lot of times they have placeholder dialogue that just says, put something funny here, or, that's like mostly what they say, except unless it has something to do with the puzzle. So that's like first pass. So I have the basic story. And I
Say
fill
funny
in a
thing, yeah.
couple things. Yeah, and it's just like whenever things come to my head, whenever something comes to my head, I'll put it in. So I'll like be in the bathroom or something or whatever, and something of just about a scenario in the game will pop into my head, and I'll put it in, that kind of thing. So once I have the game in a playable state, and by playable I mean not the dialogue is all placeholder, and there's lots of issues, but I guess like once it's in an alpha state, I guess you would say, then I bring on John Fox, who I mentioned before in the last stream was my co-writer on these games. So after I get the game playable, I bring on John Fox and I send him into the game. I don't tell him shit. I say, okay, here's the game. You go in there and write. And so he goes and he plays the game cold, knowing nothing about it.
Oh wow.
And also he plays it without any of like the extra like hints and stuff that people tell you, because nothing's written yet. So this guy, he knows what he's doing playing games. So he goes in completely cold, plays the game. While he's doing this and doing writing, so he basically does the same thing as I just did before, as he goes through and just kind of whatever comes to his head that's going to be funny in this scenario as he comes across them. And obviously he plays through, more than once and keeps going back to everything to fill in all of his part of the dialogue. And usually during the part where he's doing this, I'm doing other stuff, not writing, like fixing bugs or doing other compartmentalized things, making Steam achievements, whatever it is that I'm doing. So I don't touch the writing while he's doing his writing. We do have a shared Google Doc that he writes in a Google Doc so that I can see it, and then I can discuss it with him and revise things and comment on what he's writing and that kind of thing.
Is there a lot of back and forth in that? Like is there a lot that goes in and then gets taken out, or do you just have such a natural flow that you just like it just flows naturally?
Well, that's the next phase, but I'll get to that in a second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this current phase, he just goes in and writes, and he rewrites things that I wrote to make them more funny, right? Changes completely wholesale, suggests changes to things that I wrote, all of this kind of stuff, right? And so after he's done with all of that, then we get to the next phase. So there's so to answer your question, during that phase, there's a little bit of back and forth. Obviously, we're in contact, and I when I see something, I think you're writing this character a little differently, or not consistently, that kind of thing. I might, we'd go back and forth and say things a little like that, but I kind of mostly leave him alone, right? And then the last phase, I go back in and I do another pass through, and I change the parts. I change the things that I think, to make his writing more better, like he did for what I originally did. Right? I go back and do that for his writing, editing, and just. And some of the stuff he writes doesn't make it in, for sure. Yeah, and some of the stuff I write doesn't make it in. So, but then, yeah, once I go through that final pass, I, do make sure everything is as good as it can be, as coherent, logical, and funny. Yeah, then we go to get voice actors to say all these lines.
Which is always the fun part, right?
Yeah. How do you find your voice actors? Like, I mean, a lot of people think that you have to, like, go out and hire people, but I mean, it's like, did you do that, or did you have an easier way of finding voice actors?
So for Leprechaun Shadow, all I did was I posted on Twitter, "Hey, I'm looking for voice actors," and I got just tons and tons of auditions.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, folks, it's that easy. Just go on Twitter.
Yeah, there you go. No,
Actually,
no, I think it is. Yeah, I think it is that easy. There was another game developer. I forget her name, but she said, someone asked her about voice actor, how she got such good voice actors or something like that, and she said, "Well, there's a little known fact about voice actors is they'll say anything for money."
Oh, yeah, that's good.
sometimes it depends on the voice actor, to be honest. I know
Yeah, sure, yeah, but
there was
but yeah, I mean, it comes down to the fact that it really is that simple, right? I mean, as long as you have access to where voice actors are, so they know you're actually casting voice actors, they'll come to you. They'll send you auditions, and as long as you pay them, they'll voice your game. So it's not real that difficult to find voice actors. It's difficult to sort through them and find the best ones and choose them. Whew, that's a grueling process, but it's certainly not difficult to find a bunch of people who will audition.
I'm guessing Sir Typhil's actually. It sounds like Sir Typhil, the one for Sir Typhil's been the same each time. You actually call these guys back?
Oh yeah, that's Will Dorenzi Martin. Yep, he's great.
Does he know he's in for 3 more games?
Yeah, no, yeah, yep. He's great. He's really he's one of the actors who just very rarely, very few retakes and everything. He's just like on the ball, spot on. He gets right into character, and he's on it.
So I've actually tried my hand at the whole voice acting thing, and well, the project fell over on its face. But
so what tools were there available for doing all the things needed, like the script writing and even organizing, getting the voice acting in? Well, we already know, if you want to find voice actors, just go to Twitter. But what other tools?
Or I'm sure there are other places too, not only Twitter. But yeah, I mean, wherever voice actors hang out, just shout, "Hey, I'm looking for voice actors," and a bunch of them will come running.
But I was talking like, also, what is there any software or anything, or is there? Do you even need software to do the voice acting? Do most voice actors have it, where they can just send you the audio and that's all you need?
Okay, so the voice actors I work with all have their own home studios. I don't have the money to pay for studio time, so I can only hire people who have their own studios. So they record in their own studio that they have access to. And so a lot of times there's two ways I do it. It depends on the actor. Sometimes I live direct them. We get on a call like we are right now, and we go through it live. Some others, like Will, like I said, Will is just he's just great at getting it first takes, whatever. So he just records the lines and he sends them to me, and then I tell him, this one, that one, and this one do this way differently, and then he just sends me the retakes. Good, and that's good enough. Working with him. So yeah, it depends, but yeah, they're all recording in their own location though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about script management? Is script management easy as Google Docs, or do they prefer something else?
Script management, I make all the scripts in Notepad++ and send it to them. Yeah.
Awesome, Notepad++. I love that program.
Yeah, I know.
Pretty much ubiquitous for anybody that has to write code. Because some people actually do not like the interface for Unity or Unreal. So that actually speaking of, that sends me to the next one. Why Unity?
So I guess why Unity now, the answer is because I'm just really comfortable with Unity. I think Unity does a great job, and I see no reason to go learn something else when Unity is doing what I need it to do.
Okay.
Why Unity at first, years ago?
Yes.
Hard to say, I guess. Well, I mean, back then, Unity was kind of one of the few options, unless you wanted to pay a whole bunch of money for an engine.
Yeah, well, that was actually the case with Unreal until
about
what was it, just a couple of years ago, and then of course the quote royalties unquote that's always hilarious. Holy crap!
Yeah.
And getting the actual source code was damn near impossible.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so I guess Unity was the thing that was available, and I like it. I could complain about it if I had to, but for the most part, you can complain about anything, but Unity does the job I need it to do.
Well,
and I'm familiar enough with it to, and I like C#. I really like programming in C#. That's
that doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me in any way. 3D models.
3D models are all purchased, licensed. I do not do any art.
Ooh, okay. That's always good.
I want to expand on this question. What's your favorite resources for 3D models then?
Well, Turbo Squid, Unity Asset Store, those are the two main ones. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
See, I might
step on your toes there.
See, now I might actually have to break out my modeler and see if and make you a few extras. Now, out of curiosity,
yeah, I can't art to save my life.
Well, I can't, but I'm a much better writer than I am an artist, so that's just me. In fact, I have a whole sequence of games that I'd like to make one of these centuries, but I don't code worth a shit. I know enough about how the coding setup works about how coding usually goes that I can that I can do some work, that I can do working pseudocode. I have a very clear idea of how to design a game and write a doc. But unfortunately, that's the problem. That's pretty much where I fall down and go boom. My math skills are not the best. In fact, for a mathematician, I make an outstanding freaking carpenter. I know which end of the nail I need to hit. Oh, yes, that's a joke. Don't get upset. I couldn't do high-end physics calculations if my life depended on it. But I can still balance my checkbook, which is better than some people.
You still use a checkbook?
No, not really. But I do keep an eye on where my freaking... I do keep a ledger of where my money is, so... Receipts and all that kind of thing. I actually have
Always
to.
a good thing to know.
Also, to finish up on the resources here, before we move on to something else, sound. What did you use for sound resources, or did you make any of the sound?
Occasionally some of the Foley effects I do myself. Occasionally, I do actually have a really good microphone here. I do some voice acting as well. I did voice acting myself in the first game. So the troll and the goblin were both me. So I have a decent microphone here, and I can record knocks and sounds and whatnot if I need them. But also freesound.org is an excellent resource.
Oh yeah, no,
Freesound
is brilliant. If you need music, then Incompetech is a really good place to start. That's always been my impression.
Yep. A lot of his stuff is used so much that it's hard to find stuff that's not recognizable as being from somewhere else. But yeah, Kevin MacLeod, obviously great work on the Incompetech site, and a couple of his songs are in Leprechaun Shadow. Although I try to avoid using a lot of his stuff because so many people use his stuff that it can become recognizable. And then it kind of takes you out of the game if you recognize the tune from somewhere else. You're not immersed, right? At least for a second, right? So I wanted to kind of blend into the game, but I for Leprechaun Shadow there are a couple songs. If you look at the credit screen that I said nobody looks at, you'll see that.
Because, well, no, I thought I recognized something in there, and I wasn't 100% sure.
I will admit, you've done pretty good. Did you find it easy to get the right sounds? Because I've heard on some games, like I was a big Toe Jam Pro fan, but the one criticism on the remake was soundscape. Soundscape was just horrible on it, but everything else about the game was great. And your sound scheme seemed to be a very good match. Did you have a lot of trouble matching good sound?
It is not easy at all. It is not easy at all. And that goes for everything, not just the sound. That also goes for the art and everything, right? Because even though I'm not, opening up a 3D modeler and modeling, and it probably takes me as long to find the models as it would someone who's competent at 3D modeling to make them. Because I need to scour for a long time, days at a time, often to find the right asset, whether it be music or sound effects or this character or so the two dwarves were made using UMA with the Unity character creator, and then using UMA tools to export them as standalone models. So because I couldn't find any dwarves that I was happy with, so I ended up having to do that for the dwarves. And so yeah, I mean there's a lot of work that goes into. So I think some people can have the misconception when you say, I bought the assets, that that's you're lazy and cheap, but no, it's really really hard to do
Well,
that and still have it look good and consistent, right?
and see, that would be the difference. I don't actually knock people for buying assets. I knock them for doing it poorly.
Yeah.
Right,
just
right.
There's only so many sounds you can have for a coin.
Right.
Coin
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, a coin,
Yeah.
see, and a
Making a
coin
Mario
model
reference.
it wouldn't actually be appropriate. All coins are more or less the same. They're
Yeah.
it's just a basic primitive. I could do one of those myself in 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally 3 minutes. And that's from the time it takes me to open to double click on the icon for the modeler. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you've really just got your basic cube that you can flatten, or a short cylinder or something like that. It doesn't take any time at all for coins, unless you want something
Yeah.
unless you
Well,
want something super fancy. Most of the rest of the coin you're going to do in textures, and that's what's going to cost you. That's what's going to cost you time.
Yeah.
Yes, texture is going to cost a lot. Yeah. But I was just saying, you can only there's only so many sounds that will work for a coin interaction, or a doorknob, or a door knock,
Mhm.
or or a damsel screaming in the background.
Mhm.
Actually, damsel
Yeah.
screaming in the background, you can find
Yeah.
actually do get kind of weird. Especially
Well,
in
I have voice actors for screaming. My voice actors
Yeah.
are good at screaming.
Well, I try to be silly, but yeah.
no.
Yeah,
One of these days, someone's gonna do the whole damsel in distress thing, and rather than they cast a woman for everything except the scream, and then get the guy, and then find the guy with the basest voice you could find and have him do it. Someone is gonna do this, and I'm waiting for it. Especially if the female voice actor is really high pitched.
Yeah.
Because that would be, I should think that would be funny, just because it's incongruous as hell.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, in the in Poltergeist Treasure, Will did a variety of screams for some certain parts, and did a great job on it. But on one particular part, I just put in the Wilhelm scream just for laughs.
Yeah, I can. You know what? I need to find it. I actually need to find an audio clip of that here very, very soon. The Halloween, the October streams are coming up here very quickly, and I'm gonna want it.
Okay, now, I was gonna ask one other question, but I gotta ask this question. It was like, I haven't seen too many yet, but I was wondering, because like some devs like to put in like super secret Easter eggs in there. Have you done that with much of your games, or are you a big fan of that, or are you not a fan of that?
I mean, that's fine. Not really. No, I don't think there aren't any super secret Easter eggs. I think
No
there
hidden
are.
area that you break into that you get to see a really triggering poster to.
Oh
no.
yes, that thing. Realizing, of course, today to cheat to even see those.
Yeah, you had to cheat to see them. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I heard something about that before, but I really have no idea what that was all about. But yeah, there's not really. There's a bunch of stuff in the games that I think could be called like in jokes that you either will get or not, and if you don't, they'll just pass right on by unnoticed and nothing else. But there's no like secret areas, at least not yet, that you can get into.
I remember there was one game that secret went unnoticed for the longest time. I can't remember what it was, but think it was like a certain date had to be achieved or something, and then what was it? A mention suddenly came up, and so it's like I always wonder if there are in some of my favorite games if there's I'm not very good at finding secrets, but I always wonder if there's some of those and those, and that's why I asked that question, because I always think those are kind of neat, because sometimes people put in sentimental Easter eggs, or reference Easter eggs to their favorite thing, or attributes like Final Fantasy. I do believe had what was it? One of the graves had a reference to another game. I'm trying to remember what game it was. I think it was Link or something.
Yeah, it
But
was. That was the original
Legend of
Final
Zelda.
Fantasy, made a reference to the Legend of Zelda.
Zelda, yeah.
Mm.
So, but
Yeah, there are a lot of that kind of references in my game, as I'm sure you noticed.
yeah,
References to Dungeons and Dragons, and a lot of references to Rogue, right, in the first game, because that's what it's going off of. And so that kind of those kind of references are all over. There's also, I was gonna say, like hidden strategies. Those certainly exist, right? Like there are certain there's like the obvious way to do things, and there are often other ways to do things that very few people find. So, um, yeah. So there are those. They're not secret areas or anything, but there are often more than one way to accomplish things, and one is the sort of obvious way, and one is what people who maybe are thinking a little bit outside of the box might get to.
well, since we got kind of went down this road, now I have to ask my last burning question is, and I see this very rarely, where there's that genre blending, because I notice a lot of your games, they start out, like the click and cut,
Mhm.
and then they go into another mode,
Yeah.
and I really enjoy that. Um, the things I'm going to ask about that is like, okay, what made you choose that, and then why did you choose the ones you chose for each game? If you could track that
Okay.
question.
Yeah. So I'm also a musician, and as far as so this kind of comes into that. So I'm a big fan of bands like Mr. Bungle, John Zorn, um, that kind of thing. Sort of just weird sort of avant-garde rock like that, and in in that kind of and and if you've heard those kind of the kind of music I'm referring to, it changes music genres
Mm-hmm.
throughout a single song, right? It'll start with one genre and then it'll shift into a different genre. And my own band does the same thing. Well, like one section is jazz and then another section is metal, and it's all the same song. So I just took that aesthetic that I love and put it into a game. It's why does a game have to be one genre of game? I like games. I like lots of different games. I hope there are other people like me who like lots of different kinds of games and want a nice, sort of like Mr. Bungle-esque game experience where um, you're playing a game that just keeps switching genres on you. I think that's quite interesting in games as it is in music.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
so the second part was how did I come up with the particular ones? Um, so the first one, it was kind of obvious which one I was going to choose because you're in a dungeon. Um, so I wanted a dungeon crawler type game. So I played a lot of NetHack. I played a little bit of Rogue, but I played a whole lot of NetHack. Right, it's sort of like Rogue. I mean, mostly like Rogue, but so I just took inspiration from NetHack for that section. Um, and then the second one, the other section is a stealth game section, and I thought that fit because it's a horror game.
Yeah.
But the Poltergeist Treasures, the horror theme, horror story, right? So you have to sneak and past the zombies and avoid detection. I thought that just fit the style, so that's why that one. And the last one, he's the reason why it's an RPG is he's coming back to civilization. So I wanted the world to kind of open up, right? So the first two games, he's trapped in a location, and he has to do something in a very minimal amount of space. And I wanted it to feel like he really had come back to civilization. And so I wanted the world to feel large again, right? He's back into town. He can go anywhere he wants, except it's an island, so he can only go on the island. But
Yeah, well,
until he gets off of it at the end. But so yeah, that's why I guess because RPGs have that sort of expansive world feel to them, and that's kind of what I was going for. Leprechaun Shadow also has two other genres of game in it too, in short sections.
more dungeon diving.
There's one.
But
and those sections were just so okay. When he goes in the cave in Leprechaun Shadow, I guess there's no reason to be cryptic about it. What the other gameplay styles are, you can watch YouTube videos and see them. But so one of them, when he goes into the cave, it turns into a text adventure.
Nice.
Colossal Cave, yeah, so because Colossal Cave Adventure was the first adventure game ever made.
Yeah.
And so he goes into a cave, so obviously it needs to be inspired by Colossal Cave Adventure, so it turns into a text adventure for that portion.
Good old Infocom. I loved Infocom games way back in the century.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, like I said, I played a lot of those, and that's really what inspired me to make games, was those text adventures. That's what I used to play all the time when I was a kid, and not being one to sit by idly, I decided I was going to make them as well. So I was, writing those type of games on the Commodore 64. So it was definitely a no-brainer for me to stick a section like that in there.
Actually, I tried this. I tried to do the same thing, only with an Atari 800. Yes, I just dated myself. Hi. Yes, I'm old. At least in comparison to most of the people on YouTube.
And also in Leprechaun Shadow, there is a slightly Atari-esque section as well, very short, sort of Atari-esque. I did use the actual legitimate Atari color palette for it.
It's even better.
And some things are a little more streamlined than they would have been on an actual Atari in that section. So it's Atari-esque in its aesthetic. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Yeah, bro, you gotta play more. You gotta do more streams of these games.
Yeah.
To see.
I'll give you a stream for number 2 here someday soon, and then we'll and then we might actually have to wait for number 4.
yeah, I have to wait a little bit. Yeah, no. Let me know if you have the date for number 2. Let me know. I'll try to show up.
I don't as yet, but I'm looking for it. It'll probably be sometime this next week. If not this next week, the week after.
When you have it, send me an email or something. Let me know. I'm going to be streaming on this day. Let's see if I can pop in.
Yep, I know how to find you now.
Yep.
I'm not that. I'm actually pretty easy. Sigh. Okay. Let's see. Where are we? Oh, I have here's a question for you. The roguelike section in the first game, I'm guessing that was accomplished almost completely by means of code. Yes or no?
The roguelike section? Yeah, well, yeah, and graphics, sure. I mean, what do you mean by means of code? I mean, everything is by means of code to some degree.
Well, I'm talking. I'm
Um,
talking about there's like no actual. There are no proper art assets as one would think of them today.
I mean,
It's
there are art assets. I mean, there are sprites. All of those. I mean, it's not an ASCII. It's not an actual ASCII dungeon. There's sprites that move around.
all right. Well, that was
What
actually the
the
question.
integration?
I wasn't 100% sure because I know that you can actually accomplish some of those with. You can accomplish most of that actually with nothing with nothing but code,
Oh,
including the building of
oh,
the
you're
sprites.
saying like direct draw? No. Nothing that complicated. No, it's using actual sprites moving around, collision detect. No, there's no actual Unity collision detection. That is actually coded in because it's turn based, so there's no reason for collision detection. I'm trying to remember. That was a long time ago I wrote that. Yeah, so it's turn based. So yeah, it's
You know,
pretty
I
simple.
something
Move
I
the
see
sprite
something like
one
that.
direction and then make everything else move the same turn. Yeah.
So
Where's the integration? Oh,
hang on a second,
sorry.
Opal.
Sorry.
Uh,
I said sorry.
rar, being a and there you go, being a Canadian again. What's up with that? No, I give Opal a hard time. Sorry about that. Anyway, crap. Now what was the freaking question? Oh, right. How long did it actually take you to build out that section, that part of the game? I'm guessing it was in the
The
original version.
roguelikes, yeah. So originally it was really small. In like the version, like I said, I was going to do in 1 month. It was maybe a, it was less than half of the size that it is now. Maybe even a third of the size that it is now. It was just a really small section of the game, and the game itself was all very short. Um, so it's hard to say how long it took because I was kind of making it at the same time as everything else. I made the original version, and then I kind of later on I came back and made it bigger, and then later on I came back and made it even bigger. um, um, so yeah, it just kind of just went on concurrently with all the other development. So it's hard to say how long that specific section took, but it definitely was incremental. That section grew substantially from the very original version. It's originally was kind of just like a side thing. You went in there for a little bit and you came out and that was it.
Oh,
It was like just almost a joke, a one-off joke, and I made it. I ended up making it a substantial part of the game.
I noticed.
Yeah.
Was the
Yeah.
oh, so I was going to ask, was the integration like switching from the different modes? Was the integration within the game a challenge, or did Unity make it easy to switch gears?
I mean, well, it's a little bit of a challenge. It was a little bit of a challenge because I used the Adventure Creator tool by Chris. I don't want to get his name wrong. Chris, his Icebox Games. His name is Chris. I want to say Chris Jones, but I don't know if that might be the ATS developer. Chris. Okay, anyway, but I use the Adventure Creator tool. Chris Burton. Yes, Chris Burton. Chris Jones is the Adventure Creator guy. Yeah, Chris Burton. I'm using his tool called Adventure Creator. And because Adventure Creator doesn't make RPG style games, it doesn't handle those kinds of games. And so so I had to write the RPG section completely separately from which I've had to do in every game, from the point and click section, because a lot of the point and click section is using Adventure Creator, for inventory management, that kind of stuff. But of course, it's the same game, so I have to integrate Adventure Creator into the roguelike section, which it was never meant to do anything like that. So what I have is basically a completely separate game that is the roguelike section, that just integrates a few things. Like when you go to interact with the door, right, you need to see your inventory, but your inventory is being stored in Adventure Creator, so I had to write an interface to Adventure Creator to grab that out so that you could use your inventory, also to make the pause menu work in the roguelike section, the same pause menu as in the rest of the game, right? All that kind of stuff. So I had to, yeah, there was a little bit of work, and there is every time I do that in the second game and in the third game. All of those sections that are not adventure game portions, there's a little bit of integration work, right? Like in the Colossal Cave section in Leprechaun Shadow, you have to have your inventory because you have to use it in the cave. So, but it's not the same inventory screen as outside. You have to type I and see a list of words, right? So you have to integrate that into the Adventure Creator inventory system, that kind of thing.
Well, you also have to have a way to pass that. Your primary challenge, I would think, would be to pass inventory data back and forth between. You have X objects on one side, and you should have X object when you get back.
Well, luckily, Adventure Creator is really friendly toward people who, want to do weird things with it. It's very, very friendly toward that. So it has, has all kinds of, functions and hooks into it. You can get and remove. You can do anything in code that you can do. That you can do through the Adventure Creator editor. You can do the same things in code. So there's a full, the fully public functions for getting inventory, iterating through, removing, adding, all that kind of thing. So Chris is, I can't plug Adventure Creator enough. Go give Chris Burton some money, and if you make adventure games, because it's going to make your life a whole lot easier, especially if you're doing weird things like I do. He really made a tool that is extremely flexible and extendable, so you don't have to just make run-of-the-mill games. You can do anything you want if you know what you're doing.
Let me see. I'm just grabbing the page for it here real quick. I found something called Adventure Creator, so maybe that's the one I'm looking for. I think.
Yep.
I'll know in a second.
Creator, is it on the
Icebox Studios? Yeah.
Icebox Studios. Yep.
$80 for that bad boy. I'm impressed.
Yeah, worth every penny. It's a really, really great tool.
See, here's the thing. I've actually been, like I said earlier, I've been looking into making some games, and I'm really not all that skilled with these things. So we could take a kind of, I write fairly well according to most people, but I don't code worth a crap, and I know that.
Better than me.
Well,
yeah. If you're not trying to do weird off the wall things like me, you can often use Adventure Creator without writing much codes.
All right.
So
let me just
pretty
do this here. Set copy, and I will go ahead and paste that into the chat for those people who want to see. Okay. And yeah, we're getting to about that time, Mr. Opal. There's a link for it there, and since I'm being a weirdo, let me just do this here. There we go. Just We'll grab the link.
While he's doing that, I have to ask, since you keep talking about the cover of 64.
Yeah.
What's been your favorite game throughout history, or the game that you've sunk the most time in? You can choose either one.
The Commodore 64?
Or it doesn't matter, but you've talked a lot about the Commodore 64. So I was going to say, you can either choose what's your favorite or what's the one you sunk in the most time in. Because sometimes people have a hard time choosing their favorite. So, then the next thing I go for is, okay, so which one did you spend the most time at?
Any game in my life you're talking about, not just...
Yeah, that's any game that you enjoyed playing the most or sunk the most horrifying amount of time into.
So I'm gonna answer both of those questions maybe with a different answer. I'd say kind of my favorite games, and I'm gonna kind of lump a bunch of games into this category instead of one. Is the 90s Sierra adventure games? Space Quest,
those are fun.
King's Quest, Police Quest, Quest for Glory, all of those just awesome adventure games by Sierra, Leisure Suit Larry, all of those in the 90s. Yeah, I'd say definitely among my favorite, most influential games to me. But you can't sink that much time into those because you win them and then you go on to the next game. So I don't know if I spent the most amount of time in those games. Probably I spent the most amount of times in games, probably like City of Heroes, maybe, like MMO type games, where you just keep playing because you just keep going back year after year to the same thing, so you end up with a lot more in-game time.
Yes, the good old EverQuest, Final Fantasy 14, and Rahar.
I wasn't an MMO person, but I enjoyed the private servers of Ragnarok Online, so I can understand. Yeah, me and my wife sunk a lot of time into that.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, and like in the 90s, before there were real MMOs, I spent a lot of times on the MUDs, and the original MUD, quite a bit. The original MUD was running in the CompuServe service in the 90s,
yeah.
And I played a ton of that.
Actually, you know what?
I never had a chance to get into the MUDs. In fact, when I was younger, I played a lot more action oriented. I was I love this. Well, I only got to play this. It was a while before I got to play the other ones, but Star Wars TIE Fighter and Star Control. But yeah, as I got older, I ended up going into RPGs and stuff like that. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. But as you can probably, go ahead. Sorry,
I was just gonna say, I did love some of the adventure games like you were talking about. Like I didn't get to play Space Quest, but I played Simon the Sorcerer and yeah. So that's all I was gonna say. Sorry.
So I was gonna say, like as you probably noticed from Leprechaun Shadow, I'm also a really big fan of the Dragon Quest series or Dragon Warrior series, however you're supposed to call it these days.
I love it because that was like I did like the Final Fantasy. I'll admit that, but I don't know. Even though the first one had like close to no story, I liked the original Dragon Quest, which we knew as Dragon Warrior. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I love those games.
So here's one for you, Vance. If you had to pick one genre of video game, which one would it be? Which one's your favorite?
Well, I mean, as you know from playing my games, that's going to be hard for me. I play a lot of. I can tell you the genres that I don't play a lot easier because I don't play shooters, first-person shooters. I do not play. Like bullet hell games I do not play. But I play a lot of different games, RPGs, roguelikes, adventure games, just a really large variety of games I enjoy. Puzzle games, platformer games. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I would have to say adventure games, right? I would have to, but it'd be because I also play games like I play Town of Salem a lot. That game, it's like the old Mafia game, but online.
Yep, I remember.
Yeah.
I've actually played Town of
Um,
Salem, so
I've gotten into playing Magic the Gathering Arena lately. I play so many different kinds of games. I play a lot of poker. I love poker. I just love games. I so many kinds of games
see, the
that
only
I
sports
play.
games we've ever played on this, the only sports games I've ever played on this channel is like, what is it, Golf with Your Friends, which is, I don't think,
Oh, right.
I don't actually play the, I won't touch the overwhelming majority of sports games, and I'm really not a big fan of racing games. I've had a couple, but it's really never been a big priority as far as I'm concerned.
Sports games aren't really my thing either. So a few types of games I don't generally play, but
Yeah, you won't see a Madden game on this channel. I'm telling you right now.
That's definitely what the NBA
2K20.
2K20 on here.
Oh no. So, what's your opinion on the state of the industry in general?
on the state of what you
The
phrased
state of
out
the
there,
industry in general, because I know I know before the show we were talking about just the way they do their writing these days, but and I find those things completely abhorrent. Don't get me started about BioWare and its recent pile of fecal matter.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I have coherent thoughts because the industry is just so huge now. It's almost like there's several different industries because there are very small indie developers like me and the big AAA developers. We're not even in the same ocean, right? Is it even the same industry that I'm in and that
I start to
Bethesda's
wonder.
in?
I've actually started to wonder. I've been wondering that myself. I just didn't have a coherent way to say these things.
So there's a lot of games. There are a lot of games coming out these days, and it's hard. I wish that there was a better way than there currently is, to find the games that you want to play. Not only because I want people to find my games, but also because there are a lot of games that people make that I would have no way of knowing exist because everything just gets released. It's like you're pissing into a pool when you release a game. It's like, you can't see it, right? It's so there needs to be some way to discover games because games have become very niche-ized, if that makes any sense, right? So there's people who are in this camp and in this camp and this camp. Yeah, and I think that can actually work to the advantage of game developers because if you make games that are a little bit unordinary, like my games are, you really don't want to market to everyone because a lot of people just aren't going to be the least bit interested. I just so I guess my thoughts on the industry is that there needs to be a better discoverability system for games, for people to discover the games that they would enjoy. Um, yeah, and Steam has that recommending thing that they're trying out. I gave that a shot. I haven't actually tried any of the games they recommended me, but maybe that's a step in the right direction. I don't know how well it works.
Well, in my opinion, it doesn't work very well.
No.
Because I have such a wide varied collection. Most of the time, I'm having to dig through Keymailer to find things that might be interesting.
Yeah.
Which is of course how I ran across your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
which
Yeah.
which I find very entertaining. But the overwhelming majority of stuff
Glad you did it.
they actually, believe it or not, I run into this. I'm running into the same problem. If I go to Steam to look, then I wind up buried under mountains. Mountains of just absolute garbage. And I only I only very rarely get recommended a AAA game.
Yeah. Steam is supposed to be trying to change that, to recommend things a little bit closer to your interests rather than just what happens to be popular. But that's they made a change about, I don't know, what was it, about a week and a half ago, something like that. That's supposed to, but I don't know. I don't know if it's working. They also have that recommender, right? So I went to the recommender page and I put the slider all the way to the niche side, and the first game that popped up was already on my wish list. So maybe, and it says it doesn't take into account wish lists. So apparently it suggested, the first game it suggested me was a game I was at some point interested in, even though I didn't recognize it. But then I checked it out and said, oh, this does actually sound kind of cool. That's why I put it on my wish list. But
I don't even, honestly, honestly, at this point, I'm using my wish list to remind me of what games I've actually put in requests for. It is that bad.
Yeah, I think I'm one of the few people who actually organize their wish list, because everybody I talk to is just like, yeah, I just click and don't do anything with it. But since we've been talking about Stream, I gotta know from a dev's point of view, because both me and Squirrel know what it's like from a gamer's point of view, but with these store wars or store platform wars that have been going on, like with
Epic Store and all that.
Yeah, and Steam and GOG have been fairly nice towards each other. Nice as you expect in the store, but Epic's been trying to make a lot of waves.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? You can go off on any tangent you want, but just want to hear.
I don't know, kind of a hot button topic, so I don't know if I should take a side or someone's going to jump on me. But
you don't necessarily have to take a side. Just tell us, what it feels like. What impact this has on a dev.
No, I mean, I think to be totally honest, I think Epic's being a little scummy, to tell you the truth. I think trying to pull people who have already announced their releases elsewhere, and then trying to make them cancel those releases and release only on Epic. I think it's kind of a scummy practice. I was also reading today, just earlier today, on Twitter, a kind of a discussion about this, and I pretty much agree where that conversation went. And it's basically that all of this diversification of game storefronts, people claim, oh, it's to give gamers more choice, right? It's all about giving more options, but that's a lot of bullshit, because it's actually giving you less options when you think about it. Because if you have to have an account on 5 different stores, or I don't know, in the future even more, who knows, to be able to get all the games, because this game's here and that game's here, and you're really giving people less of a choice by doing that. And I don't honestly know what Epic Games really is bringing to the table. They say they're giving a better deal to the developers, right? They're giving a better cut to the developers, which I certainly am happy about if actually my game ever got it on there. But I think they're going about it kind of the wrong way. They're getting they're creating a lot of bad blood toward them, and they're creating a lot of strife. But I mean, basically, they're saying, well, here's another option, but then they're pulling away with people with these exclusives, so they're taking away people's options. They're not providing another option.
I'd like to say that comes out as a wash, but it really doesn't. Especially for games that were listed as being on Steam, or those that were promised on Steam as part of what Kickstarter Y. And you look at and just get there and you look at it and you go, why the hell did they do that? Rude.
Yeah, so
I always found exclusives a tricky thing, but yeah, I agree. No, totally stealing, which made me sad, because I was actually kind of, saying, I always like competition to a degree, but yeah, no, I was very sad by it. I really hated them stealing stuff, because it just felt like it felt like it was pushing the devs to betray their fan base.
And here's the other. See, here's the thing. What Epic seems to be looking for is the same thing we've got in consoles. We've got first party. For example, I can understand first party console games being exclusive, because that's there to sell the hardware. It's not there as a whole thing. But in PCs, you don't have just one platform. There's, it's not like we got the NVIDIA store that sells things that only work on NVIDIA graphics cards. That would be ridiculous. It'd be silly.
You're going to need to repeat. He couldn't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just the last couple sentences. You were fading out.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's like we don't have we don't have NVIDIA, for example, selling games that only work on NVIDIA cards.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you used to have games that like the sound would only work on the Sound Blaster way back in the day, but those days are gone.
Well, to be honest with you, most everybody had Sound Blasters, so that was
exactly. Yeah.
Or had some.
Or you had PC speakers,
because that was
the PC beeps.
Yeah. you had to have a some sort of a sound card that could take Sound Blaster drivers.
I don't know if there was a competitor to Sound Blaster. Yeah, I don't know if there was any competitor to Sound Blaster.
No, not right away. There wasn't. I know towards the end of, I want to say towards the end of the 90s is when we started seeing Sound Blaster proper Sound Blaster compatible cards, and it just made it was all there. It took them, what was it, 4 or 5 years to properly reverse engineer the Sound Blaster.
I remember that. There was Sound Blaster compatible. Yeah, before sound cards just became obsolete altogether. Right, just immediately before that. Yeah.
Actually, the funny part is you can still get a sound card. You can still buy them, and usually it's because they have little bells and whistles that the Encore not.
Like.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I was. Oh, go ahead.
Carry on.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna. So I have an external audio interface myself, which is kind of basically like a sound card, except it's not in the computer, because I do recording and stuff like that. So yeah, certainly that. But I mean, the average person isn't going to put a sound card in their computer. That's all I was going to say.
Yeah. Because well, you've got sound on the motherboard, and 99% of users are going to work
Yeah.
with just that. And you can even put in 50.1 surround sound on a lot of these Mobos now. So it's really not it stops being an issue. But I remember I remember the day very clearly where if you didn't have a sound, where if you had actual proper sound on your computer, then you had that you owned a creative product. The creative has actually shifted a lot of their production over to headsets and other such things, and they've managed to survive even to this day for exactly that exactly that. They still make sound cards, but most of them are for again pros like music and sound pros like yourself to use.
Yep.
It's like I've got an Elgato sound. I've got an Elgato capture card sitting right over there. I'd love to get an internal one, but I've got one right there, and it works. And it works pretty well. Elgato is the premier brand, but there are others.
As I said,
So we were talking about before we went off on sound cards. I don't remember.
Oh, we were talking about the ethics. Yeah, well, we're talking about politics of the storefronts and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to remember if there was some specific question that I was supposed to be addressing.
No.
And
It was a general question. It wasn't anything massive.
Yeah. And plus, I just wanted to know your how you viewed it and what impact it's had on you as a developer. Because I know what impact it's had on as a gamer, because I'm more of a gamer, I'm not a developer. But
So I mean, it hasn't had any impact on me because I can't put my game on the Epic Store. So I can put my game on itch.io. I can put my game on Steam. I can't put my game on the Epic Store. So it has no effect on me so far as a developer. But as a gamer, I think I've already told my thoughts on that.
So I have another question. Have these games actually proven profitable at this point?
Not all that profitable yet. We are working towards a profit. We're making sales. I mean, we are we're getting people playing them and buying them. They're not quite recouping development costs as of yet, but we're working toward that.
Well, I hope you eventually do, because I'm definitely. I'm already planning to buy your games as a Christmas gift for my mom.
Oh, nice.
They might be difficult for her, but I know she's going to enjoy them. See, my mom is the original gamer in our household here.
Nice.
She actually, my mom got the coolest job. She ended up getting a job repairing the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis, and PlayStation. And I think she stopped just before the PlayStation 2, or only got to work on a few PlayStation 2s.
Okay. Oh, nice.
So,
and actually, if you want to flat stress test something, a repair, adventure / puzzle games tend to be one of the better ones to go for. So what's the plan going forward aside from 3 more Typhil games? I mean,
so obviously we have three more games. It's a little bit up in the air what exactly is happening right now. Like I said, I have done a little bit of work on the next Typhil game. Mostly spending my time trying to market and get the word out about this one. Especially now that there's a trilogy of games, I'm trying to push the trilogy as well. But there's also another game that is in the works, and it is so early in the works that I don't know really what I can say about it. It's absolutely nothing like these games. It's a completely different genre of game. I'll say that it's more toward the simulation style
Okay.
than the adventure game style.
Keep us updated.
Yeah, do
Similar
that.
to what you've done with your previous games. I'm kind of curious what you do with simulation games. 'Cause I do like simulation
As
games
opposed to
myself.
whacking the word simulator after the word goat.
Yeah.
And then it being anything but a simulation.
But it's but I don't know yet if I'm going to spend a lot of time working on that game or maybe just get back to getting this fourth game in this other series out. So like I said, it's all kind of up in the air at the moment. There is another game that is not in this series that is somewhere in the future. I don't know right now where the bulk of my work is going to be going at the moment. So.
Am I mistaken, or were you at the Tokyo Game Show here just recently?
I was not. No.
Oh. Well, you mentioned I think at one point you mentioned you'd been in Japan, so.
Oh no! I just went there for visa stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, I have to renew my visa every so often so that I can stay living here in Korea.
Ah, okay.
Oh.
So
You won't really have better internet.
he's from the future, you see.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people joke that Korea's got better internet, especially in the U.S.
Oh yeah, far better internet. When I go to the U.S., I'm like, Jesus, how are you people living like this? Medieval internet speeds.
I've been told that most places in Australia are even worse, though. So.
I had a friend from South Africa, and he said, the internet there is just abysmal.
Well, at least the cellular infrastructure here isn't terrible. Well, completely terrible. It's not what I'd call great.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, 20 feet closer to the road, and that'd have been good. I could have got cable. Sigh. But for want of a dime, $100,000 fucking dollars. Anyway, so you guys, you have any questions for us?
Sorry
for you. Do you have any questions for us? I'm sure you've got at least one. We'll put you on the spot here. We'll also be taking questions from the chat now. So while he answers that, you guys start asking questions over there.
Yeah, I just thought of an additional addendum to the answer to the last question. Also, another thing of the many things that might be the next project is I might make another Second Life game. I have a successful series of games called Lutra City Mysteries that runs in Second Life.
Ooh.
So I might make a fourth game in that series for the next project. Who knows?
Wait a second. I thought, is Second Life even a thing anymore? Wow. That's been a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a long time since I've heard of the Linden Dollar.
Yeah. My mom used to do Second Life quite a bit. I introduced her to it because she was looking for something new. And she recently checked about a couple weeks ago to see what Second Life was. And it's still going as far as I can tell.
Yeah. They have a lot of people still using it. I don't remember exactly what the simultaneous users are, but it's a lot. It's quite a lot.
But then you got to realize that I actually saw it more like a social network. One of the very first, I might add.
Well, I mean, it is. It's not a game, but there are games in it. So I have a series of games called Lutra City Mysteries, which is sort of mystery games where you're a private detective. and you play that in Second Life. Second Life itself is so you can write applications and scripts and whatnot that run in Second Life, and then other people can come and play them. They might be games or they might be anything. I mean, you can write programs that run in Second Life. So that's kind of part of the appeal of Second Life, is it's completely customizable by the population that's in it at any given time. And so, yeah, I have games that you can buy in Second Life with Second Life money, and play. They're adventure games, you know, same point and click style. So Second Life doesn't have any inventory. Well, I mean, it has inventory, but not a adventure game style inventory. So I had to create all of that from scratch to work with Second Life when I made those games in there. Yeah.
Okay. Writer of Dinosaur says says that somebody here is echoing. I'm not sure who. From the other guy. I don't know. I'm not sure which one you're talking about there, Ryder.
Not sure if we could do much about that.
Well, I'm not sure we could at this point anyway, so
Yeah.
I'd have to be listening to it. That'd just create more problems.
Chat's not going to ask any question. I got one last question for you. So, how did you manage to survive an interview by a delusional person who thinks he's a croc squirrel and a loony person who thinks he's a dragon?
Oh well, you know. I like to live with 1 foot into bizarro land. Yes, it's nothing unusual for me.
Oh, sorry.
At least you're going to send you off laughing.
All right.
Well, one good turn deserves another. He gave us 3 great games that makes us laugh, and so, yeah, I thought.
Well, we've only played 2 of them. Well, I will definitely be getting to the 3rd one. I think I may do it Tuesday.
Okay.
Or
well,
yeah,
just send me an email when you have a date. You don't have to, set it right now. Just let me know when you know.
Yeah, you'll probably get an email. You'll probably get an email sometime in the next day or so.
Cool.
Because see, here's the thing: the Tuesday streams happen. I think I mentioned this, but they actually are at 5 p.m. on Tuesdays, my time. So that might be a. I'm not sure if that would be early or late for you. I'm not 100% on that.
5 p.m. your Pacific time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's 9 a.m. for me. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so it's what? Probably about 4 in the morning for you right now.
Oh, it's 5:42 in the morning. I went to took a nap a little early and got up about 3 a.m. to get here. So.
Oh, sorry for waking you. Sorry for
no worries.
Up at night.
No worries.
We work
you clearly don't know me. I'm up at night a lot, like constantly.
Well, plus, devs don't get any sleep anymore these days. The only difference between a dev and a slave laborer is that dev actually somehow manages to get paid at some point.
Really? How do they do that? You're gonna.
Yeah, I know sometimes they get paid. Other times their games go to shit and nobody gets paid. So we don't actually like doing that if we can avoid it. Nah, I've actually been trying to work on my own game and I'm kind of waffling at this point about whether or not it's even gonna work. Oh well, I'll figure out the RPG thing eventually.
But I was going to say a suggestion if you want to, considering you were saying how much you hate bullet hells, you'll have to sneak an Easter egg of that in there and just make fun of bullet hell.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And then tell us and make us work hard to try and figure out where the heck you hit it.
I'm sure Sir Typhil will actually run into that. It make it make it a bullet hell cave, and Sir Typhil goes, no, we're not going to do that.
I think if I put a bullet hell in my game, I would make it literally impossible to beat, and you have to actually solve some other puzzle to circumvent it instead of beating it. People would just keep beating their heads against the walls trying to beat this, and actually they need to do something else entirely. That's probably what I'd do.
Yeah, just put, on the first screen, put a boss in which the only safe space is actually behind the boss, and then move the boss all the way to the top. The rest of the screen is nothing but bullets, because that's the way I do it. And I know that there will be somebody somewhere that will try there's some super bullet hell freaking fanatics that will do their damnedest. Your ship appears and is immediately blasted into oblivion, like 5 or 6 times straight, and then you fail.
Somebody will probably figure out a way to beat it. Somebody somehow figure out like, oh man, how'd they do that?
They always do. Actually, that'd be the best thing. Try and figure out a way to test your skills. Try and figure out how to make it so it's impossible to win, but it looks like it's possible to win.
Right. No. Yeah. If you're gonna make something impossible to win, at least be honest with the folks up front. Come on.
Well, that's what you have in the dialogue. You really come across. It's like, you didn't really need to do that.
Yeah.
That would also be rewarding for some players, because some players they're just like, so you say it's impossible? Hold my view.
Yeah.
Actually, I do know a guy that would his only response to that would be, bring it.
Yeah, I mean that's the only reason why I would try to make it so that it is maybe like 1% possible. So like people who are really into that might be able to actually get through it, but also put in like the real way that you can get around it. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I like my way better. Bullet hell cave. Sir Typhil looks at it and goes, no, we're not going to do that.
No, I definitely make some comment. Try to dissuade the player from doing it, but
if they absolutely insist, here it is, buddy.
Or put up a sign: bullet hell cave, cheat sheet as reward.
Yes.
Paradise Cafe.
Make it a cheat sheet for your previous game.
Let's see. There you go.
Here's a walkthrough for a different game.
Yeah.
Okay, Writer of Dinosaurs actually has one there. How about a remake of the Paradise Cafe game? He put it back on the ZX Spectrum back in '85. I don't know that game.
Yeah, I don't know it either. Doesn't ring a bell for me.
Huh.
I'd have to look that up.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna do that actually. Oh dear. Paradise Cafe came from. Let's see. That's the Moby Games website. Yep. Let's see. Here we go. VideoGameGeek.com has a thing for it. Apparently, yeah, it looks like it was an adventure game.
Okay.
Let me just grab the. Oh, I'm waiting for it to come up. Copy. They don't actually have an image available, but that's okay too. Here is, well, I think I know why.
Yeah, I pulled up something about it. It looks like it's trying to be a cheap Leisure Suit Larry knockoff.
That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah.
The first and only Portuguese game for the ZX Spectrum. Yep.
Yeah, there were a bunch of Leisure Suit Larry knockoffs about that time. Another one that's kind of more well known than that one is the Les Harding games. Another
yes, I
cheap
remember.
Leisure Suit Larry knockoff.
Yeah. Well, and Leisure Suit Larry has yet to die. There was actually a recent addition to that series, and I haven't managed to put my hands on a copy yet.
It was not made by Al Lowe, though, so I don't know if I count it as a real Leisure Suit Larry game. They just bought the right to it, and Al Lowe didn't have anything to do with it. He's the creative force behind Leisure Suit Larry.
Okay, no, I wouldn't. Actually, I didn't.
I'm not saying if it's a good or bad game. I'm just saying I don't know that I would count it as a canon Leisure Suit Larry game.
Yeah.
Live chat. Let's see. Where'd it go? I'll see if I can dig that one up later, Ryder, because it looks like the link that you posted got blanked, and that's because you don't have a wrench. By the way, anybody that likes to see some great takedowns of flat earthers, go check out Rider of Dinosaurs. He does good work.
Oh, okay, cool.
Actually, when was Leisure Suit Larry? The original Leisure Suit Larry? I think Rider might be correct.
Original Leisure Suit Larry, I don't know, like 83 or something like that?
No. The Land of the Lounge Lizards, July 5, 1987.
87? Really? That late?
Wow.
I'm thinking about Soft Porn. Soft Porn was the game Al Lowe made as the precursor to Leisure Suit Larry.
See, I didn't even know that game existed. And I'm definitely not looking at
Soft Porn. Yeah,
I'm definitely not going to look that up with look up the word soft porn on Google.
Porn into Google? No.
No, I'm not going to do that right now. I might actually do that, but I may do that later. But I'm definitely not doing that now. Hey, no problem. Okay, if that's the video ID, I can definitely work with. Not a problem, Ryder. You earned it, man. All right. No, I've actually watched just about everything Ryder's ever put out, so that's just kind of a thing. It's nice to see you, by the way. All right. Anyway, we are actually kind of running out of time. Any final thoughts that you can give us there, Vance?
I don't know. No, not really. I think I've said a lot of stuff, so probably about all I have to say, unless you have anything more. Yeah, so Rider of Dinosaurs just said Soft Porn was made in 1981. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, now I'll use that for a. I'll be hanging on.
Can I post a link to the? Can I post a link to the Typhil bundle in the chat, or will it?
Actually, believe it or not, I'm pretty sure I posted. Give me a second. I'll take care of it. I'll post it again because I actually did do that here about an hour ago.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Let me just let me grab this. There's the start page for Leprechaun Shadow, and then click here for the bundle. Copy that, and boop. There we go. I got you covered.
All right, there we go. There's the entire bundle. If you buy all of the games, you get 15% off. So obviously that's what you should do.
Yeah. Well, actually, believe it or not, 15% is a fairly good bundle discount in my experience.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, I think it's decent, especially since if the games go on sale at some point, then it gets even higher than that. But 15% for all the games, I think, pretty decent. When I looked up bundle discounts, they tend to be around that range, 10 to 20%. So I think 15's pretty good.
Well, 15 seems fair to me if you're going to buy them all. If you're going to buy them all at one go.
Yeah.
Something I found
Right.
interesting, however, Epic Game Store only just recently enabled bundles.
Oh, did they?
Yep, they put out
Yeah.
the Batman. They put out the Batman trilogy and the Lego Batman trilogy for free a couple days ago. Not that I necessarily recommend them, but they're free at the moment. So if you have the launcher and want to do that, don't own them any other way, then there's no reason not to.
Yeah, there we go. Which game? The Batman games you said?
It was the Arkham Trilogy, and the Lego Batman trilogy. They were separate.
Okay, I think I have the Arkham one. I don't have the Lego one. No, looking up.
But they put what was it? They put Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight all in one bundle, and then DC Heroes Lego Batman 1, 2, and 3 in a second bundle. So that was kind of a thing.
The Telltale Batman though.
No, the Telltale Batman is completely separate. That's a whole different kettle. Besides which, it was actually on Humble Monthly like a year and a half ago, something like that. Speaking of anybody that's interested in getting anything from Humble, scroll down in the description. There's a link there's an affiliate link to Humble Monthly. You can, and it'll put a 24-hour cookie on your machine that'll give me a small kickback if you buy anything, literally anything off the Humble store. So I know you guys probably won't. I'm not going to be upset if you don't. But it's there. It's just been sitting there for the last, year, almost 2. And I don't shill it ever, but it's there. If you want it. All right, then. So, I think that's going to about do it today. It's actually getting towards 2 o'clock. Any comments or questions from the chat? I'm still waiting to see if we've got any. I know we got the one for Ryder, but...
thanks for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
Actually, it was a lot of fun. We'll have to do this again sometime.
I had to have you on. after enjoying watching Squirrel play your games, I just had to have you on because that writing was just genius.
Really happy that you enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah. Everybody enjoys some good humor, and some good snark is always a way to brighten up my day.
Yes, we can't let humor die. Humor must live.
especially humor that somebody might, especially proper humor where somebody might actually get upset.
Yeah.
The gameplay footage of said games I've done. I see Unicorn Shadow was several weeks ago. We did that one, and we just had it was Saturday, I believe it was, that we had. I think it was actually Saturday. This last stream that we had Leprechaun Shadow.
Yeah.
So
I said we gotta get the guy on for an interview, and then he was in the chat and he said, "Yep."
Yeah, we did Leprechaun Shadow a week ago.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I see 6 days ago on that. I'm looking at your screen here. Your videos. Yeah.
Well, Mr. P, go back and watch those two.
Tuesday.
Go back and watch. Go back a week and watch Leprechaun Shadow. You'll get an answer to that question. Oh, dude. Man. I am not reading that. I am not going to read that out loud. I don't want YouTube to murder me.
YouTube's lost its sense of humor.
Some days I wonder if YouTube ever had one,
YouTube, but YouTube itself.
Sometimes I wonder if it ever had a freaking sense of humor. Oh, especially after Google bought it. Ugh. Dude! All right. Writer of Dinosaur says, dude. Yeah, I'm not reading that out loud. YouTube will get me. It's bad enough. It's bad enough they've been trying to disincentivize me by putting little yellow dollar signs next to all of my videos. Every time I post a video, it spends at least some amount of time in the mostly demonetized state.
Yeah, I don't know anything about YouTube myself, so I don't.
Yeah, we have our we usually wind up with our own issues on those things.
There, I got the link to the stream. I put it in the chat there.
But honestly, to do this job, that's the risk we wind up taking. It's like it's almost like having a game that you thought was really good and like 5 people bought it. It does that kind of thing does actually happen. Topology, Topology of the Heart. Sure, I'll go have a look at that, writer. Once we sign off, I'm gonna go have a look. Ooh, oh, that's gonna be hilarious. After I check it out, I'll get in touch, writer. Maybe we can do it. Maybe we can do a thing on it. That'll be fun. Sit and natter about people being silly about the Earth being flat. Okay, so I think that's going to about do it. Oh, cool. I think that's going to about do it for us. I want to thank you, Vince, for turning up, especially on semi-short notice. Because I know we've been.
Yes.
Oh yeah, no problem
I know
at all.
there's been some lag time as far as communications. So, actually, I was kind of wondering. You didn't respond to the last couple of emails. I was terrified that you weren't gonna turn up.
Oh, so yeah, I was in Japan for a little while, but then I came back.
Okay. Well, then you got a few emails to ignore besides the other
Well,
ones.
no, I think I got them right, and then didn't I?
Yeah, the last one, the last one was the watch link and the hangout link again. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure being here.
Yeah, it's actually been a lot of fun. A lot of fun banter too. All right, a lot of fun banter. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You get my face running out in front of my brain someplace. All right. So, right on. Yep, that's going to do it for us. So between now and the next time we see you, which will probably be Tuesday evening, be safe, be sane.
And let's make games fun again.
All right. See ya.